Welcome to DAExMachiNation. Join us as we explore the mysteries of this world. Cryptids, monsters, macabre tales, and horror stories abound. Could they be true? Are monsters real?
Good evening, folks, and thank you all for joining us on another edition of DAExMachiNation. I apologize for having to take a little bit of time off, but I'm back now and back in the saddle. And joining me tonight is my two brothers from other mothers. We got Carrie Pocket Doc Davis and Robbie Rip Rains. We're all sporting our cowboy hats tonight. Doc has got a particularly badass cowboy hat that is an exact replica of Walt Longmire's hat, and I am like stupid jealous. It is a beautiful hat. Boys, how the hell are you?
Wyatt, I am rolling.
And all is right.
Basically, Robbie's doing fine.
Basically, we'll stomp a mud hole in you and walk it dry.
Boys, I am glad you guys are both here tonight. The last week or so has kind of sucked. For everybody that that sent me messages and posted messages in Facebook and stuff, thank you guys so much for y'all's concern. It's been kind of a rough week, and I'm not quite 100%, but I'm better, and a lot going on. A lot of stuff I don't necessarily want to talk about, especially on the air. Just it's not been a great year, but we'll get on with that. The real bad news is that ablation I had a few weeks back didn't take. Back pain is back with a vengeance, and now we're gonna have to look at other options. So if you see me fidgeting around and squirming around a lot on the air tonight, it's because my back is killing me. But there's really no place for it to be comfortable, so it's not like I would be better off sitting in my recliner. I'm just gonna hurt no matter where I'm at, so I might as well be hanging out with y'all. Doc, what have you been up to lately?
Well, just traveling around the country and doing classes, and we've been trying to get orders out and put more birthdays in boxes, as it were. But other than that, yeah, just ops normal for us, man. Just
you're over 200 now, aren't you?
201, brother. 201.
Dude, I love hearing that.
Yeah, that makes me pretty proud. I ain't gonna lie.
201 more people out there walking around, and God knows how many others that were saved because of skills you taught. Right. This is just because related to the kids.
Correct. Yeah. Pretty happy about that, man. So, yeah, hoping this next year will be onwards and upwards, and we can dig ourselves out of that hole we've been in for the last couple of years. And we appreciate everybody on here that stood by us and ordered stuff and hung out with us and took classes. I even had a guy in my Washington class a few weeks back that was a big fan of the show, big fan of your books. He's like, hell, I didn't know you was teaching the class. I watch you on a podcast. So it was pretty cool. So Andy from Ferndale, if you're watching tonight, it's good to see you, brother, and it was good to have you in class.
Boys, I'm pretty excited to be back. And I know we're not supposed to show labels and stuff on YouTube, but just out of curiosity, what are y'all sipping on tonight? We're not supposed to show the labels now.
Ain't supposed to show the label? Oh,
no.
Well.
I got a little bit of the Bushmills Black Label tonight.
I got a little bit of Bullet.
That's my self-prescribed pain medication for the evening.
There you go. Titrate to effect, brother. Titrate to effect.
So, with everything that's been going on in the world here the last few weeks, all these drones people are seeing everywhere, I think this, with us talking about national parks, is a little topical because they tried to claim that those drones were looking for lost nuclear ordnance, but the math ain't mathing on that.
Mm-hmm.
The nuclear stuff they're saying has been missing for 2 weeks, but they've been seeing these drones for over 4. So again, the math ain't mathing on that.
Because that's something that's been misplaced for a long time. Is a bunch of nuclear crap.
Yeah. Well, for one, they were trying. The first time they were trying to say it was the Iranians, and now they don't even want to admit what it is. But apparently, there was just a meeting held in the state of New Jersey, and every mayor of every city in New Jersey was present for this meeting, and they discussed this, but it was behind closed doors, so we're not allowed to know what was going on.
Hmm.
So they do know what it is; they're just not telling us.
Well, we the people are going to continue to get the mushroom treatment, if you know what I'm saying. Just be kept in the dark and fed a bunch of BS. So
That's pretty much the way of
that's
it.
ops normal, ops normal, man.
But the connection on these drones is they're seeing those drones over not only over cities but a lot of restricted areas as well.
Yep.
And we know those aren't civilians because national parks will shoot your damn drone down.
Yeah.
That has got to be our own people behind it.
And they're seeing them at flight levels that are far and above what a drone will fly at.
I think hard deck on a drone. I think if I remember right from that book that came to mind, I think if you go over 4,000 feet, you have to be registered.
Mm-hmm.
Your flight path has to be registered. But 4,000 is sticking in my head for some reason. If you go over that, you better have all your paperwork or you're going to be droneless.
Yeah.
Well, there was an app I used to have on my phone, and I think Noah still has it. If I wish Noah was listening, I'd tell him to pop in and tell the name of that app because I don't think he's listening right now. But I used to have the app on my phone when I worked for the hospital to track incoming and outgoing flights from the hospital. And it's an app from the FAA that basically tells you every flight in your area, and you can tap on it and you can see the registration of the aircraft, where it left from, where it's going. And if those drones are anything to do with our government, I bet they show up.
Yeah.
Because that means the FAA has to be aware of.
But with the FAA being part of the government,
allegedly,
yeah, supposedly,
yeah. And Chad Black just said they were flying over Wright Pat and Dayton, and they shut the whole airbase down because of it was impeding airflow. So
why aren't they shooting these things down?
That's $1 million question right there, brother.
If they weren't ours, why aren't they shooting them down?
Well, I mean, didn't they let a balloon that they knew was not ours fly over transverse the entire continental United States from one corner to the next?
Yeah.
So
unfortunately,
I'm like Clark, in Christmas Vacation. I wouldn't be any more surprised if I woke up tomorrow morning with my head sewn to the carpet, So, it is what it is. Again, mushrooms.
Yeah, exactly. Kept in the dark and fed a lot of BS.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is just another great example of drones in the air where they're not supposed to be. I mean, and this has happened before, like Doc was saying with the weather balloons. That happened last year. Robbie and I were one of the first ones to go on the air about that because we both watched the Pentagon's official release, which was done on a YouTube channel during the Super Bowl last year. They didn't preempt anything. They did it. They did. What's that?
2 years ago.
2 years ago? Okay. Well, it was, they didn't preempt anything, and they only released it on like a YouTube channel, and then it disappeared. But Robbie and I were watching that, and we went live almost immediately afterward. And come to find out, the one that got shot down over, was it Lake Huron?
I think so. Yeah.
We had reports that were, we had unconfirmed reports from like 3 different sources that it was, not only was it splashed by a group of F-16s out of an Air Force base. I believe the Air Force base was in Wisconsin. But not only was it splashed, but not all of those F-16s returned to base.
That's what they were saying.
They were that squadron was light too when she came home.
Well, that's a little choir, ain't it?
And they immediately shut down the recovery area and wouldn't let civilian recovery efforts in the area. So, again, this is just another great example of us being kept absolutely in the dark for the purpose of these drones.
Yeah. Muy interesante. Exactly.
Steve Padden, he sent me a video with bizarre lights over Lake of the Ozarks. It was from just a few nights ago. So I guess they are being seen here in Missouri. We can't confirm that they were drones, but they were weird pattern lights that were moving in odd directions over Lake of the Ozarks right here in Missouri. Someone in chat was saying that they'd been spotted in Minnesota. Someone else said that they'd been spotted in Arkansas. Exactly what the hell is going on with these drones?
With these drones?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know of anything that's of strategic value over Lake of the Ozarks. But I do know that Fort Leonard Wood has a recreation center on Fort Leonard Wood, but I don't know what's there. I mentioned it in the Ragnarok books. Roxanne says there's a video on Facebook of a drone over Branson also. Yeah, those things are showing up everywhere, and they better watch it around here. Now, some of these rednecks will shoot them down.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm going to say this, man. Don't go out there and try to shoot something down, because 9 times out of 10, probably more than that, you ain't going to hit it, and no telling where those bullets are going to go. Because what comes up must go down, and if it did were to hit it, then you would be in all kinds of deep fecal matter.
There are tremendous federal laws that would come after you over that.
Yeah.
Tammy Johnson says here in San Antonio, and they have 5 military bases.
Yep. Well, I mean, we got an absolute buttload of them 17 miles from my house as a crow flies. I mean, hell, I can see, if I look through my spot scope, I can see the antenna coming off of Cheyenne Mountain. We got Schriever, we got Peterson, we got Falcon, right all out in this area. Yeah.
At the Air Force Academy at Colorado Springs.
Got the Air Force Academy. So we got Fort Carson. So we got several large military installations, spitting distance from my place. So I'm surprised we ain't seen them out here. It's just been too damn cold to go outside and look. Just saying.
Yeah. But how this pertains to national parks, and we are going to kind of head that direction. But I wanted to jump on this drone thing right off the bat, because this is getting ridiculous. I mean, they either need to tell us what the hell is going on, or admit that they don't know what it is, start shooting those things down. So something ain't right.
Yeah.
Somebody's stirring the Kool-Aid.
Well, Patty says, I looked it up. It's against the law to shoot down drones in Missouri. Yeah, again, it falls under the category of if you get caught. But it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, you fly that over some areas, especially if somebody's got an illegal grow, they are going to skeet that thing right down.
Skeet it. I like that. They're going to skeet it.
Pull.
Somebody, pull.
Yeah. Who knows,
get
man?
A load of buckshot.
I mean, I could replace this one with a hat made out of aluminum foil, but I just think the timing is a little bit highly coincidental. So, with what's coming up in the next month, so I don't know. There's some weird crap afoot.
Weird timing, you call it.
Yeah.
Look at this. Don't watch this.
Right.
Look at this. Don't watch this.
Well, state of California supposedly declared a state of emergency over the bird flu. And there's only been like a handful of documented cases.
All right. I worked in the ICU when we had the bird flu back in the early 2000s. So, yeah, it's bad, but
shark attack victim dies of COVID.
Hell, all flu is bad. So
yeah, exactly.
All pneumonia is bad. So
yeah, it just seems to me like they're trying to make a mountain out of a molehill to distract us from something. Not saying what. I'm just saying they're trying to distract us from something.
They wouldn't do that.
No.
They have our best interest at heart.
Yeah. And don't trust traditional news sources. Watch some of the independent channels and watch what happens over the next month or so. Because I think this is just the beginning.
Yeah. It's the next month could get interestinger. So everybody make sure you've got plenty of food, plenty of water, beans, bullets, and bandages, all that kind of good stuff. Just it's just a good idea to stay ready for any kind of whatever pops up. So
I just filled up a bunch of Freedom Seed distribution packets, shall we say, for ease of use in my Freedom Seed distribution device.
Yep.
My wireless hole puncher.
I was about to say my cordless hole punchers are all charged up.
Well,
Yeah, I'm worried things are going to get a bit spicy.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, things could get a lot more interestinger in the next month. So everybody just, let's just hunker down, put our faith in the good Lord, and then don't forget to put a little stock in Sam Colt too. So, ain't nothing wrong with that.
And don't drop Sam Colt.
That's true.
Speaking of Sam Colt, I am pretty happy with the progress of the new Dark Frontiers book.
Oh,
it's right at 35,000 words. And that made me think of it because the line "drop Sam Colt" came up in that again.
Man. Let me tell y'all, the alpha readers out there, I know y'all are going to concur with this statement. And for those of you, whenever it comes out, in the immortal words of many a cowboy out there, holy shit. It is freaking awesome. Really nice, Clark. Really nice.
I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. I'm pretty happy with the way it was going.
It is a ride, son. It is a ride.
You just say what you mean.
Yeah. You may see some familiar banter.
And some mysteries will be revealed, like why Doc doesn't go anywhere near Slidell, Mississippi anymore. I'm Slidell, Louisiana.
Well, I mean, Slidell is right there on the border of Mississippi, so it's right next to where my mama grew up in Picayune. So, yeah. So Slidell was kind of like Mississippi light. So, and Picayune's kind of like Louisiana light. Yeah.
We just want to talk to the little fella.
I could not help that. I could not resist her feminine wiles. Now this is pre-Angie, y'all, so y'all don't judge. All right.
I'm pretty excited the way this book's going. I really am.
Y'all are gonna love it. It's really and it brings a lot of stuff together, man. And again, DA, I ain't saying this to hump your leg, man, but it's the stuff that you bring from the back stories to the forefront of what you're doing in these books. Really, it really helps with the lines of continuity there. It's freaking awesome.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
I'm really, really glad you guys like it.
So my hat is off to you, sir.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, man. Oh, John Lamb, Honey Island. Yeah. My uncles went hunting in that swamp, and my granddaddy. Sure enough.
Sonia says the book's honestly going to be epic. Thank you, Sonia. Hey, before we really jump into things, why don't we go ahead and do our one affiliate for the show? And since Doc's here, what better choice could be than hear a little word from a little guy about Dark Angel Medical?
Little word from little guy. Man, I'm going to tell y'all, Dark Angel Medical started out as a need that I wanted to fulfill for folks who didn't have good medical kits, good medical training, and it's grown into something that I never could have foreseen, thankfully. And now we have, like I said, over 200 saves. And if you go check our website out, we are a one-stop shop for your products and your education and all things medical. As far as your minor trauma kits to major trauma kits, Robbie's repping a shirt right there. Major trauma kits, minor trauma kits, anything from your boo-boos to, oh my God, somebody's bleeding to death. And not only do we have the products to provide to you, we also have the training to back it up and to provide you with the ability to take care of somebody in a bad situation. So if you use Cryptid20 on your order, that is 20% off of anything on that order. And if you order right now, it's not going to get there before Christmas. I hate to say it because we just got a bunch of orders out yesterday and this evening. So those are probably going to be the last ones to get there by Christmas. But continue to use that code. And if you do use that code, I know that if you use that kit to save your life or somebody else's, we'll stand behind it with our 100% replacement guarantee called our kit for life. So we'll replace what you use absolutely 100% free of charge. And all of our products are also HSA and FSA eligible. So if you got some funds you need to spend towards the end of the year, feel free to slide our way. Head over to darkangelmedical.com and get a kit and get trained and be the difference.
Absolutely.
That's all I got to say about that.
Now we've kind of talked about this before, but I want to kind of hit it again. That one of the things that I found most peculiar about our own national parks is the rigid control they have of the use of drones over it. If you want to fly a drone over any area of a national park, one, you've got to jump through some major hoops, and even if you do get approval, you cannot deviate a millimeter from what they refer to as the electronic fence, because if you cross that line, they will shoot your drone down. So
Yep.
what does nature preserves have to hide?
Well,
I mean, is that a rhetorical question?
I think they're hiding a lot of things, and I don't think it's just cryptid related. I think there's a lot more to it than just cryptids.
I mean, look, dude, we got 85 million acres of national parks, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
85 million acres, thereabouts. Why you got to file a flight plan with the FAA before you fly your drone?
Yeah.
I think that's
over areas that's all mountain and woods.
Correct. It's allegedly.
Allegedly.
Well, and here's the rub, because people always inevitably when we start talking about this, people are like, well, if they're so secretive, why do they let people in there? Where's the best place to hide something, Doc?
I don't know. Maybe in the woods where nobody else goes.
In plain sight, though, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Man, what are the woods? The woods.
The better question is, what are they going to shoot it down with?
Correct.
Yeah, but they will.
Yeah, I mean, and just a guy who I don't know. Do we have any folks from foreign countries who have national/federal forests with little to no cryptid sightings and know the drone laws regarding those places? I don't know.
That's a good question.
That's a great question.
Judy Wheeler's got a great point. A lot of drones can be equipped with LiDAR now, and maybe they don't want us peeling back the layers to see what's under those canopies.
Right. And also, what have we said in several shows and previous? What falls right there along these national parks?
Military bases a lot of times.
Cave systems, maybe?
Well, that too.
Cave systems.
So...
Yep. And a tremendous amount of disappearances that go unregulated.
All overlaid. And that's in plain, like Robbie said, that's in plain sight. So what are they, for somebody to prohibit flights over a national forest that is a otherwise open environment, what are they scared of people finding? Yeah. And like Jay said, drones, yes, but not airplanes. It's almost like they don't want you to see anything from a lower level. Who knew?
Yeah.
Right? Because you can see the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, you have, like you said, bigger picture, but you can also go a whole lot lower with the drone than you can. I mean, and you equip it with radar and LiDAR and FLIR and all that. I mean, look at some of the shows that use drones. I mean, they've got some of those drones that can see in just about every spectrum that there is out there to see in and record.
Mm-hmm.
And Toshi's got a good point. He says, even if they don't shoot it down, who's to say a sudden flying tree limb might not knock it down?
Or a flying tree.
Or a flying tree.
or a rock the size of a basketball. You know what I mean? So there's a lot to question out there simply because of those restrictions. Because they don't say why, they just say you can't do it.
Those by themselves are enough to raise a lot of red flags. That
Absolutely.
they're hiding something.
Absolutely.
Because if there was nothing out there but game, there would be no reason to worry about the drones, because the drones are high enough. It shouldn't bother.
That's exactly what I was about to say, DA. You're not going to disturb the wildlife with a drone.
Because even though most of those drones are virtually silent, they do make some noise. But at 300 feet in the air, nothing's going to hear it.
I mean, come on, even a commercial drone as big as it is, 3 to 5 feet in diameter, it's not going to make that much racket, and there's only one of them.
My lieutenant we were looking for somebody one day. My lieutenant had our drone out, and he was 100 feet over my head, and I had no clue. I'm sitting there looking in the woods, and I'm looking around, and all of a sudden I feel my phone buzz, and I look down, and my lieutenant sent me a text message that said, "I see you." I look up, and there's that some bitch hovering right over my head, about 100 feet, and I never even heard it.
Yeah, I mean, and as deaf as my ass is, I wouldn't hear it unless it was right up my butt. So, I mean,
next, look, the drone I've got is about yay big. I mean, with the blades and everything out, it may be that big. You put that thing 100 feet in the air, and it's light colored anyway, you're not going to see it.
No, it's a popcorn fart, man. There ain't nothing out there going to be bothered by it.
Well, it ain't bothering the wolves. It ain't bothering the deer. It ain't affecting the elk. It isn't affecting the wildlife.
And that's another thing. It's just like the adaptive camouflage. Those drones, a lot of them are colored to where when they're up in the air like that, and you look up, you see white.
Right. I mean, and if a critter who's got much better hearing than us, if they hear it, and they will hear it, they'll look up and go, "Huh, well, that's a weird looking bird," and then go back to finding something to eat, something to drink, or something to have sex with. So, I mean, that's just the way that's the way critters are.
Yeah. That's if you even notice it at all.
Yeah. Interesting.
So I don't buy that we're disturbing wildlife. I don't buy that a bit. The only possibility was possibly, and I've seen a few videos of this, possibly the drone getting attacked by raptors, like eagles or hawks. Yeah, that has happened.
I was about to say, but damn, how'd they get up there?
Yeah,
I seen
some
that.
bitches got wings.
But that's such a rare occurrence. It's not like every drone gets put in the air gets taken out by a hawk.
Sorry, Chris Burkhardt. I need to just be a critter.
Right? Frank says, "Wonder what the DNR would do if somebody flew a drone over LBL." Well, Patricia, I want to find out. It's not a national park. It's considered a public use area that is managed by the National Park Service. So I don't know. Worst that can happen is my drone gets taken out, I guess.
Yeah,
and if my drone suddenly gets skeeted out of the air, you can bet I'm going to do like Doc says and unask the AO most expeditiously.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, that's the truth, man. And then, just a guy, do we know if federal agencies take over drone duties when local authorities with drones are already involved in missing persons cases near high cryptid sighting areas? Ooh, that's a great question.
A good question. I would imagine that civilian law enforcement, non-federal law enforcement, or even they're not allowed to fly over restricted areas. They would have to get federal intervention at that point.
Because if it becomes a federal case, then the feds are going to be, the thieves going to be flying their stuff, and anybody else is cut out.
I'll tell you what.
Who has jurisdiction in national parks?
I will get the answer to that question because you know my chief's
retired federally.
I'll find the answer to that question out and have it by Saturday.
Hell yeah.
Well, I mean, national park, I guess it'd be National Park Service. So park rangers.
Department
and they do have Department of Interior. They do have armed rangers because there was a shootout up at Yellowstone last summer with armed park rangers.
What is it called? It's one of them alphabet soup things. It's like LEI or something, like Law Enforcement Investigation Division.
Yeah.
And I think Anonymous might be right. I'm sure they probably got like EMP type stuff that can lock onto a
Dead
signal.
man, I couldn't tell you the brand. It's on the shelf behind my green screen, so I can't get to it.
Hang on, let me see. Because I think I still got the. You talking about the one that I gave you, right?
You gave me. Yeah.
Hang on, I think I still got the.
I suck at flying the thing. I know that. I'm gonna have Noah, learn to fly it, or get my son Nick to learn it or something, because I know my old butt is not good at it. I'm gonna crash the damn thing.
Yeah.
XO is mine. The hell is that thing?
And someone made the comment that that they will jam those frequencies that civilian drones operate on. Absolutely. I almost had to shoot one down over the hospital one time. Because you're not allowed to fly drones anywhere near the hospital, and that's simply because of the choppers that take off and land all the time. And we had some jackass trying to get footage of the hospital, and we chased him down, caught him. I'm like, you either bring it down or I bring it down. Your call.
Okay, here we go. Just Googled LBL on drones. Google says it is a no drone fly zone over the LBL recreational area. That's not surprising, is it?
Well, special.
Well, now.
Well, now, isn't that special?
Yeah. Not saying I'm going to ignore that, but
is it a guideline, like a speed limit?
More of guidelines, really.
It's a guideline.
The rules are more like guidelines, really.
Yeah, and okay. So LBL, is that managed by the U.S. Department of Interior? Or Park Services?
I think the Parks Department has LBL.
Okay.
I want to say
it used to be the TVA, but they turned it over to either the Parks Department or Interior, one of the two.
I want to say that now we didn't see any of those cars out patrolling, mind you, but when we drove by their department, their law enforcement division, whatever, and all the cars were sitting out there in the parking lot, I want to say they had federal tags on them.
I wouldn't be surprised. Cajun Dog says, DA, remember everything is legal till you get caught. Or as I like to quote one of my favorite guys, the fat electrician, it ain't a war crime the first time.
Or my wife, the ever illustrious Angela, says, well, just don't be breaking the law while you're breaking the law.
I think I found the message here. The message is don't get caught.
Yeah.
I would imagine that if you kept that drone to just above treetop level, it probably never would get spotted.
Probably not.
Now, I'm just guessing here.
Just spitballing. Basically, he's spitballing the thing, if you will.
That's right, Dusty.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, that's funny right there. I don't care who you are.
Man, we got a lot of folks in the chat tonight, and it is flying. I've been trying to keep up and see if I
know, man.
Questions, but I'm watching the chat just scream by. It's hard to keep up with. We got I think it's 163 watching right now, which is awesome. Thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate you guys joining us. So, what do you guys think? Not just Robbie, me, and Doc. What do y'all in the chat tonight? What do y'all think that the U.S. Parks Department has to hide, and why they forbid us to fly drones over restricted areas?
I think they got ingress and egress routes, and I think they have DUMBs and other types of research facilities, because like Robbie said, what's the best place to hide something is in plain sight, because nobody will ever think about it right there in the middle of 85 million acres.
Well, and this is kind of off, but it does kind of make sense when you think about it. Remember in the 13th Warrior?
Mm-hmm. Here we go with a movie reference.
What?
I'm bearing with you. I'm just screwing with you.
When he was walking in after they went to the Viking camp, and he come in, he saw the little boy standing out on the ship, and he said, asked the question, and then he turned around and asked him, says, "Why is the kid standing out there?" And he said, he's letting them see,
letting us see him.
And he said they don't believe what they see, and he said, "Well, he's in plain sight." It's kind of the same thing. I mean, nobody would believe that some of this stuff would be right out there in the middle of all this National Park Service. So why not put it right there?
Man.
Then if somebody finds it, they just deal with it as it comes along. But it's not. If it's hidden somewhere, it's hidden. But if it's not
I was
hidden,
listening to a channel, and I don't remember which channel it was. I was listening to a story on it. It's one of the cryptid channels, and I again, I don't remember which one it was, but they had a story on there from an eyewitness who is one of these. What do you call the people that go off trail?
Overlanders.
People.
Brush busters.
Yeah, or brush busters. There's a lot of names for them, but people that try to bushwhackers that go way out in the boonies off trail. Well, this guy basically snuck into an area in a national park and went into a restricted area that was supposed to be off limits to hiking and camping, and got back in there and ran into an electrified fence. He didn't like run into it, but he found one. It was about 8 feet tall, and it went as far as he could see in either direction.
Ain't supposed to be one back there, is there?
No, there's not. He said he can't say what its purpose was for, but it looked like you can tell by the way the concertina wire on the top of a fence is angled. You can tell by looking at it whether it's designed to keep something out or keep something in.
Correct.
And these were angled away from him.
Electric fences are only for one thing, or for two things: keep something out, keep something in.
So the way they were angled was to keep something in.
Keep something on the other side of the fence from where he was at.
Correct. So
keep something in whatever that fenced off area was.
And here's the thing: if you've got a USGS, United States Geological Survey map, like a topo map that you're following with your compass or with whatever topo settings you have, UTM, MGRS, whatever, and to correlate it to your GPS, if you're using a GPS and you're just not orienteering with a compass, you'll see boundaries, natural and man-made, on those maps. And if it's not there, then...
Well, speaking of that, I was looking at that. I've told you guys about that app that I've got on my phone. And it's a free app. Anybody can get it. It's called OnXHunt. And you can use it to find good hunting places and stuff. But it also gives you a lot of detail that you don't normally get just off of like Google Earth or Google Maps. Gives you hunting spots. It shows old roads. It shows like logging trails and stuff like that. I was looking at not LBL. I was looking at Joe Bald on that, and it's showing the presence of 2 roads I can't find. It is showing 2 roads clearly defined on that app that I cannot find.
And he froze up for a second. A damn satellite's messing with you.
Probably. But yeah, it is clearly showing roads leading into an area of the park where there are no campsites.
Send me a pin on that, DA. I want to take a look at that on my app.
Okay.
I'd be curious.
Well, I know what we're going to be looking for in January.
I know, man.
There's a couple of apps that I found for free. One's called Base Map, and it's for locating your exact place, like with your base camp, and then for people that want to go into the backcountry. And since we're frequently off trail in the middle of fucking nowhere, pardon my French, it's good to have an app that'll get my ass back to the car. But the other one's called iTrack, and it will identify tracks by scanning it.
Thought that was my job.
Well, yeah, but I don't always have you with me. You live in South Crackalacky, remember? And I ain't the best at IDing tracks. I mean, I can tell deer and like raccoon and dog tracks and coyote tracks. But if I run across something I'm not familiar with, I don't want to immediately call it a cryptid when it turns out it's just like a sheep.
Okay, here's one from Roxanne. Question: I watched a podcast and one researcher asked the other if they are being watched since they're cryptid researchers. Well,
I would say yes, because it's happened to me and Robbie a couple of times now down in Joe Bald, where we've had unmarked vehicles park and watch us, and then follow us when we move to another area.
Huh. Okay. Antonio Vasquez says, DA, can you use satellite view at the LBL? I'm assuming
I've looked up LBL on the satellite map before, but I like on Google Earth. But here's the thing: you can pull these maps up, but that does not guarantee that is actually what the satellite saw. They can put anything they want on the internet and say this is what the area looks like. But you can get a pretty good view of LBL, and the only thing I will swear that is accurate about that is the roads. Because those are easily verifiable, but I cannot say with any certainty just how much of the rest of the satellite view of LBL is accurate. They could have obscured things. They could have completely changed terrain features in certain areas just to keep people out of it. But there are some places in LBL that I know are there that you can't find on the satellite map. Don't know why.
interesting.
There's a place they call the Watchtower that does not show up on the map. And you can't find Hotel California either. That's an area in LBL that used to be a hotel before the government took the land. Yeah. It's nothing but a concrete shell left to it. The locals call it Hotel California.
I was going to say you could check it anytime you like,
but you can't leave.
But you can never leave.
I broke Doc.
Oh.
Steve Patton says, DA, yes, we are all on some or more than one Fed list. Well, this happened back during the Obama administration when Obama put out the big watch list of people that the government held in suspect. And I got to look at that list. At one time I had a copy of it, but that list that they put out of people that they felt were questionable included all non-federal law enforcement
and veterans.
And veterans. So
yes, we're all on it.
Whatever.
Even Bice says isn't where the group got rescued. Yeah, that's exactly where that group got rescued in Apex Predator.
Yeah. Whatever.
I have 20 knives, one for each of you.
Let me begin to elaborate on what they may do to themselves.
But that's why I carry these special freedom seeds that expand to allow seed growth. Are you on a federal list? Are you on a federal list? Are those level 4 plates?
I don't know. Is that a mannequin filled with tannerite and screws? I don't know.
What are all these lead pipes laying around here for?
It's part of my rock garden.
These people are litterers. Oh. Oh my God.
Why do you need all that lead pipe? Oh, mainly because PVC just didn't have the strength.
Don't you worry your pretty little head about that. As we say down south, bless your heart. Oh, mercy, day in the morning. Whew.
But looking at that though, we don't know what's in national parks, and the maps that we as civilians are allowed to get access to, again, may not be right. They may have been doctored to hide what was actually out there.
And bro, you know why we don't know what's out in the national park? Because they don't want us to know.
They don't want us to know, and that's why they restrict it.
Why in the name of Zeus's butthole do they have an 8-foot fence that's with a C wire pointing inwards? I mean, that's kind of a
that
big,
just says absolutely they wanted to contain something.
Correct. That's a big old red flag right there.
Things that make you go
right. Right. I mean, if you're out there just breaking, busting brush, and you come upon and you're supposedly in national forest, and you come upon something like that, that's a little bit wonky. Or if you come upon, and what I've heard is also improved surfaces like roads that are not on maps. So,
or power boxes in the middle of a primitive campsite.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Someone commented on one of our LBL videos. I was just reading this comment earlier today, actually, and somebody said that they lived in that area, and the only reason they closed it was because the roads became too bad to get RVs into. Now you guys have both been down there.
Yep.
That place has been closed for the better part of 25 years, and those roads are fine.
Hey, okay, maybe if you're talking about what's left of the roads over in Combs Ferry, but if you're talking about Joe Bald, those roads are fine.
Are completely passable.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's what that was their big argument. They closed it down because it was too expensive to update it. It didn't need much updating. They were all primitive campsites. Unless their plan was to put in electricity, why? I mean, you just list it as a primitive campsite and go on.
Yeah. Because people
come
camp
out,
no matter what.
Come out to the primitive campsites out here where I camp out in Colorado. You better have you a 4-wheel drive, son.
And if you don't pack it in, you ain't got it.
That's correct. It's 4-wheel drive. And when they say primitive, they mean you better bring your own toilet paper and a shovel to poop in.
Yeah, because you're gonna be digging a cat hole.
That's correct. There ain't no toilets. Like me and my buddy John were up in up in freaking Wyoming, Montana, Idaho. We were in Victor, Idaho, in some primitive campground. Man, they had nice latrines up there. Ain't no running water, but they had nice
latrines. There's some campgrounds here in Missouri. Like there's a big campground up on Lake of the Ozarks, and it is an absolutely beautiful campground. It's well manicured. It's got nice bathrooms and showers. It's got electrical hookups. But those aren't the kind of campgrounds I like to go to. I like to go like the one down on the Current River down by Eminence. I mean, the only time you're going to see a ranger is when you go and pay for your campsite, and that's it. I mean, you back your ass way back down in the woods, and you may not see another camper.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's primitive camping. That's exactly. Yeah. But even if you are primitive camping, you're going to be seeing stuff just like we saw it at Joe Bald and everything like that. You're going to see the campsites, all that kind of jazz. But if you're in the middle of basically a lot of this, we talked about how many acres are unexplored. If you're in an area that's been basically unexplored or very untrodden. Then why is there stuff out there like that?
Well, the Mark Twain National Forest, which is a national forest, not a national park, so it doesn't count as part of the National Park Service. It is a national forest, and that's 3.5 million acres, and that's right here in my backyard.
Yeah.
So if you were to look up, and I would have to do some Google search and consult the Googles on this. If you added the number of acres that we have in national forests to the number of acres we have in national parks, I bet it's probably close to 200 million.
Yeah, I mean it's bigger. And there was somebody in the chat earlier said our national parks are bigger than a lot of European countries. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, hell, the state of Maine's bigger than Scotland. So,
I think sometimes it's hard for people to get their head around.
Yeah.
Hey guys, you ready for this? I just consulted the Googles. Now we know national parks have set aside like 88.8 million acres, something along those lines. 88 point something million acres. National forests, 193 million acres.
Holy shit snacks.
You off by just a little bit.
That's well over 250 million acres.
Good Lord.
Just for those two. That's not counting state parks. That's not counting public use areas. That's not counting recreation areas. That is national forests and national parks alone.
And look what Miss Lene just said, DA. She said, we have places within 10 miles of me that haven't seen humans in years. So,
well, okay.
Wouldn't that be their thing to do, Robbie?
For what did we say that the Pine Barrens were? Was that national?
Guys, yeah, the Pine Barrens are national.
He lives up
I just
there.
found another little tidbit of information for you, and Doc, you might want to make that a double because I'm certainly gonna need a sippy after this one. But wait till you hear this one, boys. Public use areas, like LBL, is a public use area. Okay,
Mhm.
you guys want to hazard a guess how many acres there are of public use areas?
60 million.
I'm going to say probably 125 just because you seem like it needs to be a big number.
840 million acres.
Shut the front door, Gina.
It accounts for 1/3 of the U.S. landmass.
Damn it, Bobby.
Sonny B. That is something right there, son.
That if you add in national parks and national forests, that is over 1 billion acres of land allowed to develop.
Think about that. Put that in respect. How long have we been sitting here hemming and hawing and fussing about how much 88 million acres is?
Right.
800 million?
1 billion acres.
Yeah. 1 billion.
1 billion acres.
Yeah. That
Are
is
are they evil acres?
They might be.
They have.
That is over 1 billion acres of areas of undeveloped areas we're not allowed to develop.
Now,
Or in a lot of cases, even explore.
I bet your sweet Bippy there are some of them that are evil acres. What you want to bet?
Definitely say LBL. I would say LBL follows that. And the more I dig into it, the more I'm kind of convinced that both Joe Bald and Combs Ferry kind of fall into that category.
Man, that's literally mind-boggling. I mean, my mind is in a bottle right now. Robbie, what movie?
Tony Harris says the Bureau of Land Management oversees 247.3 million acres. And Irene Duet says there are places in the Michigan Upper Peninsula where no one has ever been.
Yeah, I've heard of when I go to northern Michigan, some of my buddies live up in the UP. And
they say that about the Mark Twain. They said that there are entire sections of the Mark Twain here in Missouri where people have never set foot.
Well, I mean, look at the Rockies, man. Look on the western slope. I mean, once you get past the Continental Divide, out on the western slope, there are hundreds of thousands of acres out there.
Once you get up into the Rockies, it makes that movie Last of the Dogmen completely believable. Like there could be entire tribes completely isolated in these mountain valleys that we would never know they were there.
Well,
absolutely.
Think of the Congo and how much area that they say is in that area that hasn't been discovered and people haven't gone into. You could fit the Congo that they're talking about
right
inside what we were just talking about before we found all this other stuff out. You can fit that inside the 88 million acres.
Now, my good friend Wyatt said, think of how much untouched land is in Canada as well. So, yeah, y'all think about
more in Canada than there is in the U.S.
Look at British Columbia. Just look at British Columbia alone. Look at British Columbia alone, which is actually the only Canada I'd want.
That's what chaps my ass about these people who say that, it's impossible. MFer, do you know how much land is out there that your little penny loafers hadn't been inside yet?
Correct. Yeah. And they're the people that never stepped foot off pavement before.
Okay, guys, you ready for this?
Oh, boy.
Let's hear it.
According to available data, approximately half of Canada's landmass, which translates to roughly 2.4 million square kilometers, is considered undeveloped.
Good God Almighty!
Freedom units.
Wait, what's that in freedom units? Let me look that up.
Freedom units.
That is, hold on. 1,441,290.861 square miles.
Square miles. Now that's not even if you broke square miles down to acres, that'd be a lot more acreage. You know what I'm saying?
Acreage.
Yeah.
Know what I'm saying?
Let me do that real quick.
Scotty P. Know what I'm saying?
Ooh.
It must be a biggin.
Hold on, I'm getting my decimal point right.
That's a great old biggin.
Hey, Robbie, don't holler at him. You see the smoke coming out of his ears. He's ciphering. All right.
That's 59,305,291. Oh no, I got the decimal in the wrong place. 593,000. No, 593,000,005,000 and 52,915.
Tap your feet
Yeah,
on the ground.
without the little comma marks, I get screwed up. Shut up.
Damn it, Bobby, get that tourniquet off your neck.
593,052,915.5 square acres.
Antonio wants to know how big an acre is.
I will Google that.
About
Dad's
that big.
doing a lot of ciphering tonight.
Yeah.
That's right.
Irene did.
43,560 square feet.
43,650 square feet. All right. And then Josh Dalton, the general, had a question. Have you factored in, this is not BLM land?
Have not. That does not factor in BLM land.
Bro. Okay, so let's see. Hell, while we're at it, let's see how many acres of BLM land we got in the United States of America. Naoma, that doc is why women can't do math. I did that reference right there. I love Miss Naoma.
Bureau of Land Management manages 245 million acres of public land and 700 million acres of subsurface mineral estate.
Okay, so there's almost 2 billion acres.
Billion with a B.
Billion.
People say there's no habitat for Bigfoot.
Nah.
That's like walking into your backyard and saying Bigfoot doesn't exist because there's not 5 of them back here.
Okay, Phil Morrissey has a good number here for us.
Hey, Phil.
According to recent studies, around 65% of the Earth is considered unexplored, and that's probably. I'm wondering if that's considered if that's including the oceans or if that's just the terrestrial area.
That's got to be terrestrial.
Yeah,
gotta be terrestrial.
Because if you add oceans in there, that would shoot that number way.
Oh yeah,
up.
yeah.
95 or 94% of the ocean has not been explored.
Correct.
And
That is.
Oh, well, it is completely, utterly impossible for us to say we've discovered every animal species on this planet.
That's almost incomprehensible, man. Literally, when you see it in these numbers, and people are like, "Oh, well, why are they hiding stuff in the national forest or in BLM land or in this land or that land?" Well, dude, they got it because they have an ass load of land they can hide in.
Because they can.
Nobody's going to find it. Yeah, because they can. Crazy, man. It's crazy.
As John Travolta was said in Basic. Now, have we scratched your surface?
That's just mind blowing. I mean, I thought it was mind blowing when we were just talking about 88 million acres of national.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We've been fussing.
But the national parks is just a drop in the bucket.
So that's like 1/10. No, that's like 2/10 of all the stuff out there, man.
Right.
And like you said, if you throw Canada in there and do all of North America,
bro,
it's probably in excess of 3 billion acres.
That's knucking futz. Not gonna lie.
That is absolutely insane.
So, but if and we got that land there, how much land in Russia where there's a lot of these sightings of these? How much land in Russia?
I'd say there's probably as much of Siberia undeveloped as there is of Canada. So Asia is a massive continent, and Russia actually spans across Asia and into Europe. So I would say from the northern parts where not a lot of people live in Russia, I would say there's at least that much.
I got the brain pain from all these numbers.
Yeah,
the brain pain.
Suddenly the math ain't math and all lot more.
Well, and that's just it. And that just builds on what you had said earlier, DA. The math ain't mathing. When you've got,
and Karen Polson says, and that's not counting state lands.
There you go, state managed land, 100%
state parks, state use areas.
Yeah, wildlife management. I mean,
good Lord,
guys.
Man.
For those of you who refuse to believe it is possible for a North American great ape to exist because we would have found it by now, I don't know if there's
To put that in
there's any
perspective,
better evidence.
can y'all see the tip of that screwdriver?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that would be what it's like looking for these things in the land masses that we're talking about.
I once read
Being able to see that and identify exactly what that is. If I didn't tell you that was the tip of a screwdriver, with me doing that right there, could you tell what that is?
Right.
Now, if I do that, you can, but that you can't. That's the perspective of what we're talking
Yeah,
about.
I once read that this is just the state of Alaska alone, just Alaska. But if you were able to explore 1 square mile a day in the state of Alaska, if you could physically do it. Now, 1 square mile of forested area is a hell of a lot of ground to cover. But if you were somehow able to explore 1 square mile of Alaska, it would take you per day. It would take you over 100 years to see it all.
Good Lord.
And that's Alaska.
And here's the thing: exploring means looking. There is no way to. If you constantly walked, you couldn't do it. But if you take your time and explore and try to actually see what you're walking around and looking at, it take more time than that.
Okay.
Josh Owl says, DA longtime listener, I worked in the Yellowstone National Park seasonally from 2021 to 2023 in Canyon Village. I had 2 unnerving experiences while hiking around the Grand Canyon of the Yellowstone. Dude, I'd love to hear those stories.
Send them to us.
Yeah, send them to me at DARoberts at DARoberts.net. I'd love to check them out. And who knows, might even see about getting you on the show to tell your stories. I'd love to hear it.
Miss Naoma, again, Robbie, a lot of women in this chat. We've seen quite small things and been told to believe they are very large.
God, I love Miss Naoma.
God, I love you, Miss Naoma.
This time, it ain't me and Doc derailing us. It's Naoma.
We're
Blame
not.
her.
Hey, boys, check this out from the general. It moved before I could put it up there. Says, DA, hold on to your tin hat. Department of Interior umbrella includes 476 dams and reservoirs, 433 national parks, 544 wildlife refuges, and the BLM.
Wow.
Which is Bureau of Land Management, not the other BLM.
Yeah.
That's a lot of smoke.
That's a lot of smoke.
Insane.
And you know how many sightings there have been on or near dams?
All of them.
A lot of damn sightings.
A lot of damn sightings. There was a sighting on the dam at Clayton Lake. Doc, in Clayton, New Mexico, there was a sighting on that earthen dam at Clayton Lake.
Shut the front door. Seriously?
I shit you not. 2 campers saw it, packed up their shit, and left.
That's a damn scary sighting.
How far is that?
They were planning on camping down there, then fishing early in the morning, and saw it on the dam shortly after dark, and said, "You know what? We don't want to fish that bad."
How far is that from the Eklund Hotel that I want to go to?
10 miles. Clayton Lake's just a few miles outside of town.
Robbie, I got a place for us all to go, man. Me and DA was talking about the other night. So, and the hotel is haunted as piss.
Yep, that sounds like an amazing.
I'll give that a 1 thumbs up. I'll do it, but I ain't happy about it.
Well, Robbie, the hotel, it's called the Eklund Hotel in Clayton, New Mexico. It's been there since the Santa Fe Trail went through, and the place is haunted as hell. And you can still see the bullet holes in the ceiling and the walls from gunfights in it.
That's my kind of joint right there, son.
Sure, they ain't just people like me that
They also supposed to make
my butt like they did.
One of the best steaks you'll get. They're supposed to also make one of the best steaks you'll get in the state of New Mexico.
Well, they got plenty of freaking beef ranches around there. XIT's right up the road.
I ain't saying I ain't going. I'm just saying that ain't my.
Robbie's, I ain't going, but I ain't happy.
I go.
Josh Dalton says DA is Indian Affairs under the Interior as well. I think so. I think all reservations are considered under Department of Interior.
That's Department of Interior for BIA.
Yeah, that's not even including reservations. Holy crap!
Yeah, we didn't factor in reservation land. So you look down in the Four Corners down here in Colorado in the Four Corners.
We're gonna be over 4 billion before this is over with.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Because we already close to 3.
Yeah, so we can't even fathom what could be hiding in that much area. So for someone who's hunted, I've hunted the same area of woods my whole life, and I've never seen anything like that. So I don't believe Bigfoot exists. Great, you hunted a square acre in the Mark Twain National Forest. Yeah,
Correct.
there you go. Good job. Yeah, that means there's you didn't see any squirrels, so they don't exist anywhere else in the world either.
Yeah. And then just a guy who says Department of Interior has all that power and agencies, but USDA has the national forests.
That's interesting.
That's interesting. Yeah, and Cajun Dog says the folks who claim there can't be Bigfoot or Dogmen because we searched everywhere is just spitting government propaganda BS.
Damn
That's
right, because
Yeah.
clearly we have not and that's areas that is just set aside.
Dude,
We're not
we
even
had
talking
best
about how many
first.
people might have had one in their field, which was not in any government use area,
I mean,
or people that have seen them along the Mississippi or along any of the riverways. I mean,
short
hell,
of
we showed that picture on here of where all the tributaries of the Mississippi branch out from, and it's
Right.
most of everything from the Rockies
Right.
to the Appalachians, all the way down to New Orleans.
Yeah.
short of Barry Allen, the Flash, being a real person with those real powers that had near light speed, and he's working for the government, there's no way that
Okay,
mean,
so
pending something like that, they ain't done it.
Bowers has a good question, man. Wouldn't reservations already be factored in under numbers already given? I don't know.
No, they would
That's
not.
totally
because
different land.
They are
isn't it?
not considered U.S. territories.
That's
They are
why,
considered
They're
sovereign
sovereign.
territories.
Yeah.
that's why you have the Bureau of Indian Affairs. That's why you have reservation police. That's why if anything happens on the reservation, it's handled by the reservation police and
Not the feds.
not by the feds.
And if
Yeah.
if they can't handle it, they'll call in the FBI.
Yeah.
But even,
But
They have to call them in.
law enforcement
Yeah.
can't go
I'll be right
on
back,
the
guys.
reservation. Now we all got a chuckle of the number of times Walt Longmire went on to the Cheyenne res anytime he was wanting to round somebody up, but it doesn't work that way. Non-federal law enforcement can't just waltz onto a reservation.
Here's the thing: an FBI agent could come into my department and tell my chief, "Hey, we're going to take over this this DUI that your officer just got," and there ain't a thing in the world my chief can do about it. I mean, he can fight it and he can fuss and all that stuff, but in the end, they have that jurisdiction to come in and do that in any jurisdiction under them, except on the reservation. They have to be called in because, like DA said, that's considered a sovereign nation.
Right.
So they may have the same, they may have some of the same laws, speeding or domestic violence or any of that stuff. It may be the exact same, and they may even use the U.S. Code of Laws or that whatever state they're in. They may use that, but they still govern
They also
themselves.
have laws specific to the
Right.
reservations.
So law enforcement works a touch different when it comes to a reservation.
Yep. Just a guy who says not long ago, Department of Interior Fish and Wildlife guy was detained by tribal police for trying to regulate wildlife regulations on Native American land. Exactly. They've got no authority there. That is sovereign territory. So, if we throw in the number of acres of Native American lands as well, again, it just gets staggering. And look how many sightings are coming from reservations.
Well, and the thing with the reservations, most of them are, we've talked about this before. That's like us seeing a dog. I mean, because they accept it as point of fact.
Right.
It's not like it is with us. When they're like, "Oh my God, no, that can't happen." They're like, "Yeah, he's right over there. I see him every day. Yeah, I come out and drink my coffee on the porch, and I see him walk across the trail." It's no big deal to them.
And it's just an accepted part of the natural world to most tribes. So it wouldn't be treated the same way it'd be treated by our law enforcement. Our law enforcement, we're not going to put that in a report. You don't want to end up having to pee in a cup the following day. But
Quiz.
On tribal land, it's a whole different animal.
Oh, hey y'all. So I missed that. I was answering the call of nature, but while I was upstairs, Angie brought up a good point. She's been listening, and she said, "Y'all been talking about how you can hide this stuff in plain sight, or how can people say how can you hide it in all these national forests?" Look how many serial killers and freaks of nature hide things in populated suburban neighborhoods.
Ted Bundy.
How many bodies
Correct.
do you have under his house?
The BTK dude, Wayne Gacy, John Wayne Gacy.
Driving around in broad daylight.
Broad freaking daylight in a neighborhood right next door to you, man.
Roxanne says there's the Googles says 52.6 million acres of Indian reservations. But it's not like that's a drop in the bucket, but it's small potatoes compared to all the rest of the federal land.
Yep. Yeah, man. I mean, she was telling me, she said, y'all been talking about this national forest and these billions of acres. She said, but what about right next door to you? If somebody can hide something right next door to you, what in the cat piss can they hide in billions of acres?
Yeah, exactly.
A lot.
Well, look how many that area they call the Highway of Tears in Canada, where so many Native American, especially Native American women, have gone missing along that stretch of highway without a trace. Yeah, could a big chunk of that have been human trafficking? Yes, it could have. I'm not ever gonna claim it couldn't, but could some of it, or at least part of it, be people that were taken by cryptids? Because a lot of them were seen hitchhiking along that stretch of highway, or they find their car abandoned at the side of the road.
Well, it just, like I said, that floors me when you hear all these people, these supposedly smart people that have been to school and know all this stuff, and they're like,
absolutely not. That cannot happen. There's no way that this there's nothing that there's no way that this could be there.
Right.
Shut up, Milton.
Man, dude.
No offense to anybody named Milton, but still.
Yeah, it's true. And right there, like you said, Robbie, the very first of the show, in plain sight. It's all in plain sight.
Someone mentioned the DC sniper. That was happening in a major city, and look how long that took to catch him.
100%. 100% man.
And those were just people.
Damn, his hat's comfortable.
Imagine, a cryptid that is born to that environment that does not want to be found.
That has a natural ghillie suit.
Yeah, exactly. And has the ability of, say, 75% of the population don't even believe they're there in the first place.
Correct.
Well, and you weren't here for this, Doc. We said this the other day. Think about it. When you go get a new car, you really don't pay attention. You ain't seen that car, but you get a new car. What's every other car you see on the road once you get a new car?
I'd never really paid attention to the number of Nissan Rogues on the road until I bought one. Now I see them everywhere.
So think about it this way. If you're somebody who does not have the slightest bit of open-mindedness about these things being possible for them to be real, and you're driving down the road and you just see a black shape running across a field, what's your mind automatically going to tell you that you just saw? It's going to say bear, right? More than likely, right. Or wolf.
Clay Bauer said, don't know where I saw something about a woman's body found fed on by a fox. And some said that on the newscast had an interviewee mentioned something on two legs. I believe that was in Scotland, if I remember correctly, if I'm thinking of the right story. But yeah, they found her car broke down and she called for someone to come help. And when they got there, they couldn't find her. The door was open and the car was abandoned. So they started searching the area, and like 3 days later, they found her a long distance into the woods from her where her car was, having been fed on. And there were people that were saying that they'd seen an upright canine in the area.
So anyway, I started blasting.
Damn right.
Jesus God, man. Hey, and thank you for the 1911, DA. I appreciate that.
I like the
2 world wars, baby. So Pine Knot Yoder, I've always wondered, all these secret government bases or tunnels or labs, how do they man them without it getting out missing persons? Question mark.
hard to say. Those underground bases aren't even supposed to exist technically. So,
I mean, because let's think about this. Could they not get personnel in there under the cover of night with aircraft? I'm sure. I mean, dude, they
or
probably
the
got,
entrance might be under an innocuous looking building 10 miles away.
right. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, 2 billion acres is a lot to scour over on the Google Maps with to try to find a clearing, because hey man, there's so many freaking natural clearings out there that could be LZs, less landing zones. So I'm not trying to be condescending. A lot of people don't know what the hell a LZ is, but there's a lot of natural clearings out there that could be LZs. Yes.
Yeah.
So they don't have to necessarily cut any LZs. They don't have to make any, and they damn sure ain't going to make any concrete pads with a big ass H with a circle around it for helicopters.
Hell, all they have to do is Halo. I mean, especially if they're going into a general area that's like in the middle of this 88 million acres, if they're just going into a general area, Halo.
Or hey, Robbie, how about this? What do smoke jumpers do?
Jump into forest fires.
And then you've got stories like the one I heard about in Wyoming. Supposedly, somewhere in Wyoming, there's a train tunnel, that trains pass through. A lot of the coal trains coming out of the mountains that will go through these tunnels. Well, there's a story of a government supply train going in and not coming out.
Yep. An anonymous monster said 160th Sword does a lot of night flying. They absolutely do, because I had a couple of good buddies that flew with them.
What did I see in the LBL that night, DA?
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know. What'd you see?
A freaking Black Hawk.
Don't leave us hanging. All right. So there you go. Yeah, and again, and I like your train of thought here, Pine Knot Yoder, because who flies a helo there without getting the secret out? Man, it could be disguised as a USGS. It could be disguised as a Parks helicopter. Any of these guys fly routine flight patterns all the freaking time. So what's to say if it's a Park Service helicopter, it's got the markings on it. It could be ferrying people back and forth, just like the unmarked planes do out of Las Vegas International McCarran Airport every day.
And all they'd have to say is that they're doing flights over looking for illegal grows.
Yep.
That's it. I mean, hell, in California, that's a big reality.
Well, in a lot of our national forests, it's a big reality.
Yeah. I mean, they had a Longmire episode about that.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying. I'm a Longmire nerd, but yeah. I got Angie hooked.
Well, I mean,
speaking of Longmire, did you email Craig?
I did. Have not heard back yet.
I hope you do.
We shall see.
But going back to your smoke jumper theory, Doc, how smoke jumping generally tends to work is you got a big plane and there's 20, 30, however many they carry in that plane, and they jump out in intervals. They don't all. It's not like a lot of military jumps when you jump everybody in one stick to go into one general LZ. Smoke jumpers they're going to be, because their job is to be digging those trenches and those fire breaks and all that stuff to stop. So you're not going to have everybody in one spot. They're going to jump at different intervals. So if there's a plant, so to speak, he's probably going to jump at a different location, and he's just going to slip off and do whatever he needs to do. Or there may be, more than one in there.
Just a guy who yaps says blacked out helos is the 160th specialty, and they aren't that far from LBL, are they? No, they're based out of Fort Campbell, Kentucky, which is just maybe about an hour by air from LBL.
And that was 100% a Black Hawk that night. That was not.
It's not even an hour by the air, DA. It is 44.6 miles.
So that's like 15 minutes.
That's a 15-minute Black Hawk ride.
And they'll be spooled up and over the LBL in 20 minutes.
Damn.
Well, if if I'm remembering my time of events correctly, it was about 35-ish minutes from the time we left off of there, left the show, got ready, drove to where we was at and where we were standing when we saw the chopper. So that would have been about
That's crazy, dude.
Pyromedic says, are the Odd Fellows group Roosevelt was a part of still around? Maybe they would know. Yeah, they are still around. Odd Fellows still exist.
I mean,
Frank or Patricia Harrington says, I was friends with someone who knew LBL better than anyone, and he said it was nothing for blacked out choppers to fly over LBL. Yeah, I've seen them. I mean, I've seen plenty of military choppers in the air. When I was at LBL, I was there for a better part of a week, and I saw numerous choppers. They weren't directly overhead, but they were in the area.
Pyro, you were out there with us that night. Was that not, correct me if I'm wrong, when we were standing out there at that first little place we went to, was that not a blacked out Black Hawk that went over the area? I'm just about 100% convinced that was what that was. Of course, I was in a little bit more of a pissed off mood that night because I was ready to go help somebody.
Miss Neoma says, every time I've been to LBL, helicopters have flown over us. Heck, they fly over my house all the time, and we're over an hour away from Fort Campbell. We see them all the time around here, and especially over the lakes in the area. But that could partially be attributed to we have the AVCRAD here. It's the Aviation Repair Depot. There's only 4 of them in the U.S., and the military has to send all their choppers to one of those 4 AVCRADs to be redone. And we've got one of them right here in Springfield out by the airport. I've been out to it, been in it. But I've seen everything from Chinooks to Apaches flying around this area that have been tested out.
Pyro said that was because he was out there with us that night.
Oh Lord,
guys, I mean, I thought the rabbit hole was deep when we talked about 88 million acres in national parks.
Yeah, it gets even deeper, man. And I mean this we might be getting a phone call in the next few days.
No, to make this deep as possible, now we need to tie this into Antarctica and Atlantis.
Yeah.
We dug a hole the other night, Doc.
Yeah,
Antonio, your opinion? I very much think the MIBs are real. Very much so. I mean, I would guarantee that's probably what that unmarked van that was following us was.
24-hour service.
I think if we'd have actually got into anything, we'd have been, pulled aside and told to get the hell out of there.
I think if we'd have had casting material with us that night, we
well,
would have been approached because they were listening.
Could have had to wait about 4 hours for that casting material to dry. So I guarantee we'd have been run out of the area.
we're gonna do some stuff in January because I've already got the time blocked off on my schedule, and so we're gonna figure something out, and we're gonna have all the necessary materials and such with us for show, as well as plenty of freedom seeds.
Yes, sir.
And I gotta while we're in the midst of our train of thought, I gotta give a shout out to my nephew Ethan. My brother Dim Bones is watching the show right now, and I gotta give a shout out to Ethan. I want everybody in the chat to wish Ethan and my new about to be niece-in-law a very happy wedding this coming weekend, and wish them all the happiness in the world. So I remember when Ethan was born, and I've been the funkle for a number of years. So I'm pretty. I hate I can't be there in Mississippi for it, but I'm pretty proud of him. So y'all, if y'all would, give Ethan and Laura some happy wedding wishes. So I know it's different. I know I got way off track, but I just wanted to give him as much well wishes as he can get.
Absolutely.
So Men in Black. What you
Mhm.
think?
I definitely believe they're real.
Well, and they may not necessarily be Men in Black. They may be men in khaki pants and 511 polo shirts.
That's very
It'd say 24-hour service on it.
You know, or Robbie and
completely
DA unmarked vehicles.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Dude, these cats are all over the place, and they're trained in surreptitious surveillance, man. They really are.
Well, they were surreptitiously surveilling us that night.
Or maybe not so surreptitiously surveilling.
Robbie, that night we were in Moon Valley. That within 15 minutes of us getting there, a car drove through, went up the hill, turned around, and came back, staring at us the whole time.
So
I know about that.
you can't tell me that they ain't got some sort of seismic detectors or some sort of motion detectors there that trip.
Dude, they watch our show. I guarantee you, we're on a watch list. They knew that we were playing because we talked about the days we were going to be down there and the days we were going to be doing that. We talked about it for weeks.
I mean, you can't tell me there ain't some sort of device there that might be some sort of skunk works DARPA bull crap, some kind of solid snake crap that they got going on that they can pick up when people are around there.
Yeah.
Here's some more tinfoil to line your hat. We didn't start noticing the vans in Joe Bald until we found those power boxes.
Really?
It was after we found the power boxes that we started seeing the vans.
Yeah, because when we pulled in, you were like,
Oh,
"What is that?"
really?
Well, you've been there, Doc.
Yeah.
Where is there any type of residence or anything anywhere around inside that park that would need a service truck?
Nowhere.
Yeah, there's nothing in the park that would require a service truck.
I mean, because
nothing
me and
electric.
DA walked in close to 100 yards in. And when we started seeing that funky eye shine, we unasked the AO real quick. But there was nothing in there. There was those tables. There was those picnic tables. There was nothing else. There's no junction boxes there.
This time, though, I'm curious to see if our theory is going to be right, though, because when you two were there and had and I'm talking Joe Bald, when y'all were there the first time, it was cold. Y'all had eye shine and stuff. When I was there the first time, it was cold. We had eye shine. When I was there the second time in Joe Bald, it was warm, and we didn't have nothing go on in Joe Bald. We had plenty of stuff in Combs Ferry, but there was no. Joe Bald was just a normal place. I mean, literally, Doc, there were.
And then when I go down there and when Noah and I found those deer pieces, it was starting to get cold. It was late October.
Well, the good thing about us doing our expedition in the next couple of months is snake activity will be on an all-time low.
Heck yeah.
And the 20
Take
pounds
some
of
skeeters,
the 20 pounds of gnats you inhale every time you take a breath.
And
those
skeeters.
were bad. Clouds of those gnats around us.
And the skeeters.
Yep. Skeeter
Well, in Missouri, we call them mosquito dactyls.
But I'm especially fond that there's the snake activity will be extremely low to non-existent at that time. I am not a fan of the crotolid or elapid species.
the nope ropes.
Nope ropes. No danger noodles for Doc.
I ain't got no danger noodles. Satan strings.
I handle that.
Yeah.
Doc handles the spiders.
Dude, I'll be on Robbie's back like Master Blaster if I see a snake. I'll be yelling, "Who run Bartertown?" So,
Spurring him like a horse. Faster, faster, you fool, you fool.
I'll be spurring the crap out of you, Robbie.
Oh, Lord.
Have mercy. So that's something that people honestly, and this is not just for us, this is for anybody else out there. This all relates to situational awareness. Be aware of your surroundings and what you see going in and what you see that may be happening around you. not just while you're there, but on your way out. If you see vehicles, personnel, things like that in relatively isolated environments, could it be somebody checking up on what you're doing?
Like I told Robbie, when we went down to where Smiddle Cave is, I'd been down there a ton of times and never once seen a game warden. But I take Robbie down there, and again, we had talked about it on the show, going down there and what day we were going to be down there. We saw them everywhere. I mean, there were multiple trucks down there.
Yep.
So, but I've got a much better understanding of that area now. I know there are more caves in that area that aren't blocked off.
Yeah, just be aware of your surroundings, folks, and because I mean, you don't want to, poke the bear, as it were.
Honestly, I think we need the main places we need to hit: Joe Bald, Combs Ferry, and Blanc Road again, Smiddle Cave, or that general area. And then if there's any of those places that we didn't get a chance to get to the last time,
y'all hear that? He's giving y'all our game plan right now.
Yes,
so just let you know that right now. That's where we're going.
Yeah. We don't care. We're telling you where we're going to be. You're going to find us anyway. We're just not going to tell you which.
Cambino wants to know if you saw any black SUVs while you were at LBL.
Frank just said that. Robbie, while at LBL, did you encounter any black SUVs?
Probably. I was more looking for the guy with the hockey mask coming out from behind the tree.
Or something that was about to make Robbie poop. So, I mean, but it is. I mean, while you're out and about, just not only for the things that we're out there looking for, but the things that may be out there looking for us, just in other modes of transportation. Oh, that's a good point, General.
Federal Fish and Wildlife falls under Department of Interior.
So
Jay Freiberg says you guys have a satellite task to you when you go out.
Yeah, you got the Geospatial Agency sitting there tapping in coordinates for this place right now.
Right. Yeah, Rain's just left his house. Yeah, David just left his house. They're on their way.
Miss Naomi says, I'm seriously considering buying a black SUV just so I can play head games with all my friends in the cryptid community.
Just sit there with the windows tinted, just with the engine running, looking suspicious.
Michelle N says, and Portlock. Yeah, Portlock is still someplace I definitely want to go. It's not going to be a cheap expedition, though. That's probably going to be in excess of 50,000 probably to put a team on the ground there.
And that's some stuff that we got to talk about in January too. Because we're gonna have
Josh says for Steve with his 10 hat. He's at work tonight,
and that'll be one of the instead of the round table, the round pit discussion.
Yeah, Knights of the Fire Pit.
Yeah. I like that. Knights of the Fire Pit.
Just a guy. Yeah, 50,000 is probably a fairly conservative estimate. We're going to need to charter a boat first and foremost, and it's going to have to be big enough that we can use the boat as a primary base camp. We're going to have to bring in all of our gear with us. It's not like we can pop out to a mini mart and grab extra milk. I mean, everything we need, we're going to have to bring in with us. Then we're going to have to establish a base camp on the ground. We're going to have to establish satellite uplink. Yeah, so it's not going to. It's the trip to Portlock is not going to be cheap. Now, granted, if I get a Netflix deal or reach the New York Times bestseller list, I'm still planning on doing it. But it's going to take us a bit to finance it otherwise.
Well, and if that happens, we can bring my buddy John, and he can run comms and stuff for us because he's got one of those Starlink minis.
Mm-hmm.
So he could be a a commo guy for us and help us as far as fire support too, because he knows which end of the gun goes down range. Yeah, he's my best friend since 2001. So yeah, he's definitely going to have our back for sure. That would be down for it.
Miss Moon, that's one of the things that will be discussed at the Knights of the Round Pit. Knights of the Fire Pit, excuse me.
Knights of the Fire Pit.
Oh, she says the DA-verse fire pit crew.
Correct.
Oh, Doc doesn't know about the name for the new name for the Sunday night readings.
You came up with it, so you feel free to share.
Let's hear it.
We're now the RRA. See if you can get it.
The RRA?
Mm-hmm. Come on, think about it. What are we? What are we? What are we doing? And what when a group of people do something together, what's it called?
There's some sort of assembly?
Not assembly.
Association?
There you go. You got one of them.
I don't know.
What are we doing on Sunday nights?
Rinking and Rinking? I don't know.
The
Redneck Reading Association.
Ah, Redneck Reading. I like that. I like that.
Not says, dang, where is that? Australia?
Naoma.
No.
Miss Naoma. Circle jerk. Oh, Miss Naoma is on one tonight, son.
She's on fire tonight.
Oh, Lord.
She brought the zingers tonight.
Boy, she is. Good Lord. Woo. The Rowdy Redneck Association. I like that too.
And I know we originally set out to talk about national parks and what they're hiding, but it seems to me like this goes way beyond national parks.
Well, we started to just talk about Alaska and Atlantis the other night, and look how deep we went with that. That's just the way it goes when you start talking about these things.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much with literally 2 billion acres plus. There's so much potential for anything out there, and you're talking to agencies who have unfettered access to millions and millions and millions of dollars. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You're welcome, Keith.
Any family of Doc's is family of ours.
That's right. Miss Naoma said she's feeling homesick. So we miss you. Well, we'll miss you too.
We miss the hell out of you. That's for sure. Always good to have Miss Naoma in the house. That's for damn sure.
David By says he's hitting the sack. Good night, dude.
Sleep tight. Don't let the Sam Squanch bite. Oh my goodness, man. So what kind of, let's talk about this, because we know, all right, Plum Island is out there in the wide open.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah. That's pretty wide open and has a lot of theories going on there. So let's talk about some theories of what's going on, quote unquote, in the woods.
Basically, we're gonna theorize, if you will.
We're gonna hypothesize here for a minute.
Hypothesize and theorize.
So what's going on in the woods, y'all?
I mean, I think that there's just, and you know, like we said, we were harped on that big number of 88 million acres before tonight, and we've done found out tonight, like we just scratching the surface before of how much land is actually out there.
Right.
So, and we've talked about this before. You know, we see all this fantastical stuff in these movies that you think, oh, there's no way. Truth be told, most of the stuff you see in the movies is 10, 15, 20 years past where we're actually at. So to sit here and say that there's no way that we don't have these ultra secret underground bases that are in the middle of these ungodly large areas of untouched wilderness. That's just like the epitome of stupidity to sit there and say that can't happen.
Yeah.
I think it's like I said earlier. I think it's that hide in plain sight. I think it's there. It may be in the middle of all this woods, but OS National Parks is here. It's not like it's
Who
all.
runs Plum Island? Was it CDC or was it?
I think it was
some
CDC,
other
wasn't it?
government? Yeah, I thought it was the CDC.
Or was it was it the Army's equivalent of the CDC?
The USAMRID?
Yeah,
USAMRID?
USAMRID.
I went to flight school with some USAMRID folks, and I mean, it's kind of disingenuous for us to think that there's no research facilities there. I mean, is it research facilities? It could just be research facilities. But what are they
Administered by the
researching?
Department of Homeland Security. It's the PIADC, the Plum Island Animal Disease Center. And it's animal diseases. Why is it administered by Homeland Security?
Why is half the shit that Homeland Security does? Why are they over it?
Yeah, that makes no sense. How is animal sickness a Homeland Security issue?
It shouldn't be.
Okay, that's a little freaking out there.
All being funded under the guise of dumb stuff like hamsters fighting on meth.
Probably not wrong.
What'd you say about a spider monkey on meth?
He said, who I got to give him credit for who said, I can't remember who. Lead laced. Here's show it on screen so you can read it. It's pretty dang funny.
All being fun of the guys of dumb stuff like hamsters fighting on meth. That's good. I mean, okay, so what just got diagnosed in California?
They were called
Stupidity?
declaring a state of emergency over bird flu.
Besides that, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, so
You got to be a little bit more specific when you talk about California, Doc.
Is that not some sort of quote unquote animal disease, bird flu, swine flu?
True.
You know what I'm saying? So,
But I would think it'd be more under CDC than Homeland Security.
right. And then Craig Schultz has a good question.
I believe it's tribal land at Port Lock. Yeah, you would have to get permission to go in there.
Yeah.
That's why we would have Fred with us.
That's right.
Northwoods took a while to show up tonight. Speaking of diseased animals, I will probably have the misfortune of dealing with my ex when my youngest gets married in a few months. Man, you waited a while, son, but hey, you came out strong on that one.
You know, sometimes
Wyatt just join the Nightmare Hunters. Thank you, Wyatt. Appreciate it, brother.
Thank you, Wyatt. Right on, man.
Hey.
We appreciate you to join this merry band of rambunctious renegades. The triple R, the rambunctious renegade rednecks. Now it's there's so much land. It literally defies, I don't know. I mean, conventional thought.
Well, and like I said, we were flabbergasted, if you will, about 88 million acres.
Right.
Yeah. You couldn't explore all that in a dozen lifetimes.
Correct.
We've damn near tripled that. With just what we found out.
Dude, I mean, let's look at it. Let's look at it at this point. Exploring on foot is one thing. Even aerial surveillance. How long would it take, man? For a long time. Longer than we got. Here on this plane, it's really, honestly, it humbles you when you sit here and think about that. It humbles you to sit there and go, well, you're like, yeah, they definitely could be doing it, because there's no way we would actually ever know. So,
and I think that speaks volumes to what we're talking about. It's like, put it there. That way, if people find it, how many people are going to be in that area? Less than 1%, probably, right?
Right.
Less than 1% of the United States population, or even the world population, because we got people coming from all over the world to go hiking and things like that. Less than 1% are going to actually go and be somewhere where they're going to actually find it. Number one.
Well, look at
Number
it this
two,
way.
people aren't
A lot
going to believe them.
places require at the very least a 4-wheel drive to get to.
Correct.
How many people that own 4-wheel drives are just pavement princesses that never leave the freaking pavement?
Oh my God, you ain't wrong. That's my son-in-law Cannon uses that term. And also, I just thought of something too. We were talking about early on in the show the cave systems and the national parks and everything. That could be you don't have to have man-made roads like some people have reported seeing. You could use those as a natural ingress point.
Yeah.
You got untold thousands, hundreds of thousands of natural entry points into this massive underground system already there.
Who's
naturally occurring.
Who's to say that big ass gate, it's Middle Cave, isn't an entrance?
That's exactly what I was thinking of too when I said that, Robbie.
You might be onto something there.
I mean, it's kind of large, unlike me. So I mean, and they all when people
come from other countries that make in our parks, do the cryptids who live there consider that international food?
I'll tell you what,
you
boys.
Hungry? No, I just had a spicy Mexican. No thanks.
She's on one. Are they going to be hungry 30 minutes later? I mean, I don't know.
That chalupa didn't do nothing for me.
Yeah, she's freaking on fire tonight, man. She's spicy. That's funny. Yeah.
I mean, that's a damn good point, Doc. I mean,
here's a good one.
Ooh, yeah.
Hey, Bauer says, DA, do you think those underground city entrances, truckers go in, connect all that? It's very likely it could.
Because they probably come to points where they can't go no further.
I would say that is highly likely.
Is access restricted to certain points? They're only allowed to go to certain points for resupply?
My brother was a truck driver for years, and he told me a story about some places that he used to go out in Arizona, where he would pull up to the gate, get out of the truck. A guy would come out, take the truck, take it into the entrance to the facility, which went underground, and he would sit in a air conditioned guard shack for hour, 2 hours, however long it took, and they'd bring his truck back empty, and he'd be on his way.
Holy crap!
He was not allowed to set foot in the facility, nor was he allowed in the freight, because it was sealed at point of entry, pickup, and he didn't unseal.
I mean, come on, man. I mean, you ain't even got to have a tinfoil hat on to go. That right there is a little bit irregular.
Just a touch.
As my granddaddy say, that's a little bit choir right there. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is. So he would sit there, would not be allowed access into that area.
Nope. Didn't get to go past the gate.
Had
a little waiting room. He would pull up, get out of the truck, and go sit in the waiting room. They'd take the truck, pull it down into the facility, and he said it'd be gone for sometimes 2, 3, even 4 hours. Pretty soon it would come back, sometimes with the same trailer on it, sometimes with a different one.
That is crazy. And okay, so all right, so my brother Dim Bones. Look at the big brain on Dim Bones. I'm gonna put you up on blast, Keith. So consider for a second the network of underground tunnels in the Gaza Strip runs more than 310 miles.
And that's without our high technology.
Correct. Those are rudimentary tunnels. Yeah,
those were done by hand.
Yeah, those are rudimentary, not like with modern with like big excavating machines.
The massive boring equipment they used back in the 20s and 30s when they were digging those tunnels under the river in New York.
Yeah.
And it was in the technology of 100 years ago, basically.
That's a great point, Keith. My brother is smart. He's a fart smeller. I ain't going to lie.
Roxanne says, my ex is a truck driver, and I went with him, and there are several facilities like that. My brother said that he found him in Arizona, and there's one that entered into an old salt mine near Chicago. He wasn't allowed to go into that one either.
So Antonio asked, what was he carrying on the truck that he couldn't go? Antonio, it's not that it was anything he was carrying. It was just that he was not allowed access to that area. It was like a restricted area because there's a lot of top secret sites in the U.S. military that they have the same procedures that supply trucks will come in and they're only allowed to go so far. And then they're either escorted in or somebody else takes over the vehicle. They do the offloading and bring it back out to them. It's just a restricted access kind of thing.
Those trailers were marked with special placards. He was given the green light right on through, didn't even stop at way stations.
No crap.
No shit. Those trailers were not to be delayed.
So that was just like express train all the way through.
Right. The only thing he stopped for was gas.
Do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
Yeah, they had special placards in place when he would go right past a way station. If they sent somebody out like a highway patrol to go pull them over, they just pull up behind them and then just leave.
They'd see that placard and say, "Okay, well, he's not one to be messed with."
Right. That's that. You know, we got orders to leave that one be.
Wow. I mean, come on, man. Yeah, you ain't got to be a rocket surgeon to kind of figure that out.
Jay Freiberg says the Chicago salt mine is corporate records. They have a website. I guarantee you that ain't the only thing that's down there. That's the publicly accessible areas. And right here in Springfield is what they call the Springfield Underground, massive underground storage for food. And there's even an internet hub down there they call SpringNet, but that's not all that's down there.
Yeah,
that's what is publicly accessible.
Let me tell you something, Jay. I sent a bunch of trauma kits to a dry cleaners in Chantilly, Virginia, many years ago too. I don't know. It was legit.
Dry cleaners need trauma kits for.
Hey.
Why does dry cleaners need 52 trauma kits? You know what I mean?
Hey, them machines can be nasty.
them damn irons, you know. I don't know.
Just a guy says, DA, has he ever heard noises coming from it or any indication it might be some form of noise proof? Those were years ago. He hasn't driven. He's got his diabetes got real bad, but he doesn't drive anymore. Next time I get a chance to talk to him, I'll ask him if I can get any more details about those loads. But I don't remember him saying anything about it. Although I do remember a story from a friend of mine who recently got out of the military, who was at a facility in eastern Tennessee and saw U.S. military trucks taking something out of a warehouse, and the trucks would shake as something was inside moving.
Like Jurassic Park style?
Yeah, like massive containers, and it would shake the truck.
Shit. Oof. Well,
now that could be cryptid related, or it could be something else entirely, but that came out of a U.S. Army facility in eastern Tennessee.
Well, whatever it was a big son of a gun. Good night. And Naomi wants to know, have you read The Mangler by Stephen King?
No, I haven't read a whole lot, especially the recent Stephen Kings.
Yeah, I ain't heard of that one.
I heard it, but I never read it.
I ain't never heard of it.
Kay Bowers says, what was that town that the people was going crazy with the humming sound? Isn't that an underground city hotspot? I know what you're talking about. I just watched a documentary on that. There have actually been several towns over the years that had this inexplicable humming sound, and it would go on for weeks or even months. And the weird part was only a certain percentage of the population could hear it.
Mrs. Moon said Taos, New Mexico.
Taos is a weird little town.
Yeah,
I've been to Taos many times.
I got tinnitus, so I live with that weird humming sound shit all the time, and it drives me about batshit crazy.
Yep,
that tinnitus.
God,
and that's why I have to sleep. I have to sleep with like white noise music on.
Same, dude. Otherwise, all I hear is wee all the freaking time.
That's why when the power goes, that's like when all that power was gone, or I didn't have power for however long it was, 2-3 weeks. Dude,
Yeah.
laying like this all night, every night.
I'm right there with you. Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I remember an instructor in the Army saying, I'm not telling you to do this, but if you take one of your earplugs out, you can hear the pop-up targets popping up. So naturally, we all took out an earplug.
Are you freaking kidding me, pal?
I'm absolutely serious, man. That was in basic training. He's like, I'm not telling you boys you should do this, but if you take one of your earplugs out, you can hear the whir on the motor as those pop-up targets come up.
Yeah. So, word to the wise, kiddies. If you ever hear me say, I ain't telling you to do this,
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
He was right. You could hear it, but after, a few months, you didn't hear it anymore.
God almighty. Yeah. You can't hear anything anymore.
Yeah, my tinnitus is worse in my left ear than it is in my right.
10%. 10%, folks. That's what that tinnitus is worth to the VA. So.
Mine's not as cool as y'all, so.
It still sucks. It still sucks.
Robbie's is from too many years of Black Sabbath.
You're not far off. It's from bouncing in nightclubs and having that, we had those old headphones that went across one ear, and I always kept it on my right ear. And of course, my spot was next to one of them speakers. It's like that tall, so you're not far off.
Noise. Oh my goodness.
John Wayne Gates says must be Magnum rifle symptoms. I don't own any Magnum rifles. I do have a certain .357 Magnum variety pistol, but I always make sure I've got hearing protection on with that.
Yeah. I wear
my ear pros now religiously.
I wouldn't touch off a 338 without ear pro, that's for sure.
Kay Bauer says, I ain't telling you to do this, but a person could train without earplugs every now and again. You won't have time to put them in during self-defense. Yeah, we were prepared for that in law enforcement. We always used them on the range.
Yeah. Do you want tinnitus? Because that's how you get tinnitus. All right. So, what a crazy show, man. This is, we went way down a rabbit hole and we basically stayed on topic most of the night.
We did that last time too, Robbie. Holy crap.
Yeah,
what the hell's going on?
This is, I mean, dude,
I don't know, because I said the last time, I said it would have been a different story if Doc could have been here, because me and him would have been all off topic. He was here. We wasn't off topic.
We were actually on point tonight, man. So, hey. So
it's kicked by a horse. Her eyes cross. She falls in the well. They go straight. I don't know.
Who knows? So,
I think one thing we definitely established is this goes way bigger than just national parks.
Bingo.
He goes all the way to Antarctica and then to Atlantis.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there. So now, I mean, I think honestly, man, we covered a lot of good, important, and I think thought-provoking points tonight. There was some theorization, hypothetical stuff, but the most of it was factual, and it gets people to thinking. Like Robbie said, these things, and my wife too, things happen in plain sight all the freaking time. So if it can happen in plain sight in Suburbia, what in the cat piss is going on in 2 billion acres of forest? You know what I mean?
Right. We have absolutely no idea. And again, to the people that say, I've deer hunted this area my whole life and I've never seen anything.
Blah, blah,
the same metaphor as we were talking about with sharks. Just because you walked up to the ocean with a teaspoon and dipped out some water and looked in and said, well, there ain't no sharks in this, so there ain't no sharks in the ocean.
Right.
Yeah, don't mean anything, because I guarantee you haven't explored thousands of acres of national forest. I've been going into the national forest in the woods for years, and I doubt I've explored thousands of acres. I've been doing it since I was a kid, and I don't think I've explored thousands of acres. And a lot of times, even with what we do, we don't get far off the trail. But when we're talking what's happening way back, miles off the trails, and there's just no way to know.
Well, that's like I said, less than 1% of the people who go into these places are going to go that far off road, so to speak, or
Correct.
overland, whatever you want to call it.
That's the thing, man. I mean, like the dude that found the freaking fence while he's out there, hiking off the trail, off grid, bushwhacking, whatever the shit it is. He's out in the freaking woods, getting brambles up his bunghole, and he comes upon a freaking concertina wire fence. What the shit is that all about? So, I mean, it's not that it hasn't happened. It does happen, but why? That's the thing. And why are there FAA flight plan restrictions over certain areas of national forest when I thought national forest was open to everything and everyone.
Right. I mean, it's paid for by taxpayer money. Why don't we have access to it?
Yep.
Nail on the head right there, son.
Same thing with LBL. LBL is called a public use area, but they looked it up. We looked it up tonight, and you can't fly a drone over it. Why?
Right. Just like
they don't want to see in with a drone.
My brother just said, I've only logged 35 dives in the Gulf of Mexico, and I only ever saw sharks one time.
Well, that must mean there's no such thing as sharks in the ocean.
I've jumped out of an airplane 35 times, and I never saw a shark. So, I mean, there's obviously no sharks in the sky either.
That means there's
what they say?
Sharknadoes.
You know what they say? There are more airplanes at the bottom of the ocean than there are submarines in the sky.
Facts.
Yeah. And Justin Oldfart says, what if cryptids are to keep people out so we don't see what they're up to?
Again, I don't think it's a case of them just being specifically put there for that. They've been around a long time. I mean, we're seeing records going back to early days of man. So I don't really believe our government created any of them. Manipulated and used them, absolutely.
Weaponized.
I don't think they created them, but they certainly took advantage. We've seen them weaponize other animals.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I mean, weaponization is nothing new, but with these critters, I think they're definitely, I think it's definitely something new. The fact these things have been around for millennia, yeah, that's nothing new. But the fact they're being weaponized by our government, I think that's a recent development.
So just because you don't see it in the well-manicured park at the edge of town, or your deer hunting lease, which is, right off of a highway, does not mean 10 miles farther back in the woods, the place ain't crawling with them. And I challenge anybody that says, I've been hunting these woods my whole life and I haven't seen anything. I challenge any of those guys to go to some of the places that we've been.
Yep.
Because Steve was a non-believer. Not anymore.
Then he saw his face. Now Steve's a believer.
And he broke his leg.
Now Steve's a believer.
And wished he could fly.
Exactly.
Yeah, we got back in there in Combs Ferry, and I don't think there was a single person sitting the fence that night. Wyatt's in the chat. He can tell you. Richard, if Richard might be in the chat. Richard was offshore on the boat, but still saw and heard stuff. Every one of us that were there had experiences, and it is definitely still in my mind as one of the best outings I've ever done. And I've been in some pretty hairy areas.
Well, 100%. Let's just hope that January does not disappoint.
I don't believe it will.
Keith, our wonderful government would never weaponize anything. Of course not. You silly rabbit. Tricks are for kids.
We're in the middle of the most transparent administration ever.
No, we're not in the middle of it. We're at the very end of it. Thank
True.
goodness.
That's transparent. That transparent. See?
Well, that's all of them. The government ain't going to tell us a damn thing.
Night, Miss Naoma. We love you much.
Good night, Miss
Good
Naoma.
night, Miss Naoma.
See you in the moomies. Holy crap, boys.
White says, "You gonna learn today."
You're gonna learn today. It's been
Steve, it was Rocket Man.
it's been over 2 hours. Holy
Craig
shnikes.
Schultz says LBL is mostly a no-fly military zone. Friend of mine is a pilot. We got a little over line and got a radio call from Fort Campbell to change our flight path.
Well, now.
Why the hell would LBL be a military fly zone?
Now, do you remember? Think about this. Do you remember what I told you? Me and Johnny saw when we first pulled up down there. Because I called you and I'm like, guess what I'm looking at? Do you remember?
Mm-hmm.
Clark's Goose. I mean, it wasn't it, but it was no
You
Catalina.
didn't call me, you selfish son of a bitch.
I'm sorry. You didn't write it. He did. Or he did.
What did you see? Seriously, what did you see?
The plane that Clark took from Hitler in
Yeah.
Death of the Outlaw, or not dead, at Operation Blood Eagle. Me and Johnny come down there, pull it in, and I looked over and I punched Johnny. I said, "Look at that." He said, "What?" I said, "Look." He said, "Holy shit, there's a seaplane down there." One of those that you can land on the lake, not with the big pontoons on the.
It's like a boat body.
Yeah, there you go. Was it
Flying boat.
Catalina? Is that what that's called?
Catalina PBY. There's 2 or 3 models.
I ain't no seaplane pilot.
And I saw that thing fly because it took off while we were down there and flew off. Now he may have had special permission, but
Larry says, "DA, I hope your back will allow you to go on the January outing. It's gonna come hell or high water. I'll go if I'm in pain. I don't care."
I'll give him a steroid injection if I have to.
Anonymous Montanan says Grumman. Yeah, Grumman made one. Boeing made one. There were several models of seaplane, and several that were not even American made. The Germans had a couple. I know the British had one. So there's a lot of places that manufactured seaplanes, especially during and after World War II.
Yep, that is correct. Seaplanes.
in my humble opinion, Grumman made the best plane ever. Anyway,
Which one?
F-14 Tomcat.
The F-14 is a badass aircraft.
Nobody around our age that halfway likes military movies or anything is not going to think the Tomcat is one of the baddest vehicles or airplanes that ever fly.
And dude, it's huge. Have you ever seen the size of it next to like a F-16? It makes a F-16 like a freaking Cessna 152.
They had a couple. One time when I went down to the Yorktown, they had a couple of F-14s. They brought them in to just every once in a while they'll bring different planes in to come sit down on the deck of that aircraft carrier. And one of the times I went down there, they actually had a couple of Tomcats in there, and I was like,
That's a badass plane.
Speaking of the Tomcat, that was the primary aircraft on the USS Nimitz for the movie The Final Countdown.
Yes, it were. Splash the zeros.
Yeah, splash
the zeros. Again, splash the zeros.
Is Johnny going to be available to, or is it Johnny that's going to help out with the Return to Antarctica show?
No, that was Rodney.
Was Rodney? Have you ever heard from Rodney?
Well, because we had he's gone this week, but it'd have to be next week before.
Okay, well then we're still planning on doing a part 2 to the trip to Antarctica stories, and we're going to get Rodney on it, but it won't be this week. So this Saturday, don't forget to set your calendars. We are going to be discussing. I'm glad he brought up the F-14. We're going to be discussing the actual event that is behind the story of The Final Countdown.
Love it.
Ooh.
That's a good movie.
We'll be discussing a couple of events that led up to it, including the Philadelphia experiment, and we'll be discussing the actual events that surround the story, The Final Countdown.
Ooh, all right.
That's one of my all-time favorite movies.
That's a great film.
I'm down like a fat kid on a seesaw, son.
Hell yeah.
Hey, yeah, okay. Y'all talked about F-14, but all right. World War II aircraft, my favorite is the
B-51 Mustang, baby.
And What did Maverick take off in Top Gun 2?
I flew that. I flew that plane. I flew that. That's actually me.
I'm so jealous that you get to fly a P-51, man.
Yeah, and I landed it and everything. It was kind of cool.
I love the P-51 so much. When I did Operation Blood Eagle, I knew I had to put a P-51 dogfight scene in that.
Dude,
and
dude, I'm so glad you did. I'm so glad you did. P-51 is bad. And yeah, anonymous P-38, P-47 Thunderbolt, the Jug, F-4U Corsair,
A-10 Warthog or Thunderbolt, whichever one you want to call it.
Yeah, and then in Vietnam, you got let's not forget Korea, the Forgotten War, F-86 Sabre. Then you got.
What are you talking
Vietnam,
about? You're talking about the Corsairs. When I was at the VA hospital down in Little Rock, Arkansas, for my knee, this is years ago, probably 1990-ish. I was sitting in the waiting room for my appointment for my knee, and I'd been there for hours. And my appointment was like 7:30 in the morning. It was like by 3 in the afternoon, waiting room was still full, and I still hadn't been seen. So I'd read pretty much all the magazines I could find that were worth reading. So I finally just struck up a conversation with this guy with a World War II veteran hat on next to me. And turned out he flew with Boyington with the Black Sheep Squadron.
Holy shit, dude!
Happy?
I got to sit there and listen to stories about the Black Sheep Squadron. I told
awesome.
him, I said, I loved Baba Black Sheep. I said, how accurate was that? And he put his hand on my shoulder and gave me this big old grin. He goes, son, if anything, they had to tone that shit way back from what we actually did.
Love it. Love it.
He said, we were way worse than what they showed.
Oh my God, dude. That was me and one of my dad's favorite shows back in the day.
Squadron.
Oh my God. And then my brother Keith said F-4 Phantom for Vietnam, and I like the Douglas A-1D Sky Raider, but we had F-4s who flew over our house all the time. DA, I know we're getting close on time, but I want to piggyback on that with a story I had. I brought a patient back to her house one night when I was a paramedic in Alabama, and I was still in the Air Force then. And I brought this lady back to her house, and her husband opened the door. He escorted us back to the house from the hospital, and we got her. We put her in the house, got her in a stretcher, put her in the house and everything in a bed. And as I was walking by their fireplace in the living room, I see two pictures, and another shadow box in the middle. And this dude had like 21 air medals. Okay, there's a picture of him next to a P-47 Thunderbolt. And then another picture of him next to a P-51D Mustang. And I was like, that's you? And he's like, yeah. I said, you got 21 air medals? And he's like, he looked at me. I said, I'm Air Force. I said, I got one air medal. and he said, yeah, I had 125 combat missions.
Jesus.
I know. And this dude, me and him sat there. My partner's like, are you ready to go? I was like, you shut your freaking filthy hole. I was like, I said, this is a fucking hero we're talking to right here. Pardon my French.
Kidding.
I said, this dude's a freaking hero. And so, man, we sat there and taught this dude for almost an hour. And my partner was like, I'm glad you sat there and taught with him. He said, I actually learned some stuff. And it was amazing talking to these dudes. Like I met a dude that jumped all 4 combat jumps in World War II. And I mean, he saw my paratrooper wings, and we started talking about it, and it was just, I don't know, man. These guys, they're literally a dying breed. So if y'all got them, I know it's off topic, but if you got any of these guys around, they got that veteran hat on, talk to them. You won't regret it. They are living history, man.
One night when I was working the hospital, I got a call up to the 7th floor. There was an elderly patient up there who was getting violent with the nursing staff, and I go trucking up there, and I walk in the room, and there's an older man. He's probably in his 80s, but he was like going at it with these nurses trying to get out of bed, and I immediately, the first thing I noticed was on the inside of his arm, he had an anchor with CVN 65, and I went, you were on Enterprise. And he stops fighting and looks at me and goes, how did you know that? I said, I recognize the CVN 65 on your arm. And he goes, well, how the hell do you know what that is? I said, well, I wasn't Navy, I was Army. I said, but my uncle Owen was stationed on Enterprise. He said, when was he on Enterprise? I said 63 to 68. And he's like, holy shit, I was on Enterprise with your uncle. I said, so what's going on here? What's up? What's going on? He goes, all I want is a damn cup of coffee and they won't give it to me. And I said, can he have a cup of coffee? They're like, no, he's on heart meds. I said, what about decaf? They're like, well, yeah, he can have a cup of decaf. I said, well, get a cup of damn decaf then. I said, sit with him. So they bring me a couple cups of decaf, and I sat down with this guy, and he just calms immediately down. He goes, who was your uncle? I said, his name was Charles, but he went by Owen, Charles West. He goes, you were Charlie, you're related to Charlie West? I said, yeah, it's my uncle, it's my mom's younger brother. He's like, oh man, I put a lot of beer back in Singapore with your uncle. And I hearing stories about my uncle who had just passed away the year before that I'd never heard, just laughing my ass off about these two picking up hookers and getting drunk in Singapore.
Oh my God, that's awesome, man. That's awesome.
What Uncle O never would have told at family gatherings.
Right. Now, hey, dude, my uncle Coy, because I had Coy, Claude, and Wesley. That was my daddy's oldest brothers. They were all in World War II in the Pacific in the Navy. My uncle Coy was on the USS Hornet when it got kamikazed in Midway, and he died with shrapnel still in his body.
Northwood says one of my mom's uncles flew as a gunner on a DH-4 bombers in World War I. On the way home, he met a fighter pilot and became friends with him. The pilot's name was Eddie Rickenbacker.
Holy shit, that's so cool.
That is awesome.
That is amazing. Hey, man, my hat's off to those guys because they were definitely the greatest generation for 100%.
My hat's off to them as well.
Yep.
You know, they were the greatest generation for sure.
Hey, my grandfather was a medic in World War II. And the night that Patton got
killed,
murdered? Yeah. I won't say it, but my grandfather and his partner were on duty that night. They got the call to go pick him up. Got halfway there, and they were called by their CO and said, turn around and come back. And they're like, well, we just got to turn around and go back to the station now. They got turned around, so they don't even know who picked him up or picked his body up. But my grandfather was actually on the way to pick Patton up.
He was the one that picked Patton's body up.
No, he was on his way, and then they called him out there and said, turn around. We got
that is crazy, man.
And he actually got to ride in the 24 karat gold elevator going up to the Eagle's Nest when Easy Company captured the Eagle's Nest.
Like Band of Brothers?
He actually got to go up into the Eagle's Nest.
Holy shit, dude. That is amazing.
That's flipping wild.
Wow. Hey, y'all, I mean, we've been done with the show for like 15 minutes, y'all. So we're just BSing right now. So
my Uncle Ed, who passed away 96 or 97, Uncle Ed passed away. He fought he was with the 101st Airborne in World War II. Fought at the Battle of the Bulge. And he said the night before the battle, they were all, sitting around like they had fires going in big drums, trying to stay warm. And said a guy came up and asked him for a light, and he turned and lit the guy's cigarette. And the guy patted him on the shoulder and says, "We got a big day tomorrow. I'm counting on you boys to do everything you need to do." And he said, "No problem, sir." And then he didn't realize who it was until he stuck his hands up by the fire to warm them. It was Patton. It was General Patton.
Oh my God!
He said, "He says the greatest thing I did in the war was light Patton's cigarette."
Oh my God, that is cool as hell, man.
Well, think about that's the scene in Band of Brothers. You talking about standing around in 55-gallon drums? Right before they went to Baston or whichever episode it was, is either where they were going to get Foy or where they were going into Baston. I think it was Baston. They had that something like that scene where they were all out there around those 55 gallon drums.
Did that a lot during the war.
Yeah,
break up
that Ike?
Those barrels.
Yeah, that was Ike. That was on that one.
Yeah, he was a soldier. That's for damn sure.
Yep, because it was him. He was the one that was saying he was going in to save the Airborne and they were interviewing Joe Toy.
Yeah.
And he was like, we don't need Ike to come in here and save us.
Hey, y'all. Dante just subscribed, so thank you, Dante. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Dante.
Welcome, guys. This has been a stone groove, man.
Yeah, it has. We're gonna start winding things down, folks. And one thing I always want to do before we wind up the show is I want to mention the 22 a Day Foundation. It's something that's very near and dear to me. I've seen a lot of folded flags in my lifetime, and don't underestimate the power of just talking with somebody. You know, we never know the battles that some of our, and they don't even have to be veterans. We never know the battles that some of these folks are facing. Men and women that have served in uniform have seen and experienced things that will haunt them for the rest of their lives. And 22 a Day Foundation is very near and dear to me. And because, not everybody has the safety net. I know that, I can call either of these two yahoos day or night. And I have. I'm not gonna lie. I've had to make that a hey
Yeah.
fucker, you awake phone call at 2:00 in the morning. Because sometimes we all need somebody to talk us down. Because we have to always remember to not let the hard days win. Because sometimes they do. At least 22 times a day, the hard days win. And talking about veterans of World War II and things like that, we've lost a lot of those guys, but look how many of them we lost because they couldn't deal with the memories of the battles that they'd fought or the things that they'd seen. How many Vietnam veterans have we lost? How many Gulf War veterans have we
Amen.
lost? We have lost so many soldiers and first responders as well because they deal with just as bad things. Robbie can tell you as much as I can. Working a wreck, God knows what you're going to see. I mean, one of the most horrible things I've ever seen in my life was pulling a body out of a lake, and that was brutal. And those are things you just don't forget, and it's the little things that just stay with you. Sometimes all it takes is just a hint of a certain scent on the breeze, and you're right back there. PTSD is a bitch, and it does not discriminate. It doesn't care who you are. If you're 9 feet tall and bulletproof, it will still come and get you. And it gets us all from time to time. And again, think about the folks that that have served in any capacity or in any uniform. Doesn't matter how they served, where they served, or when they served. Let them know you're thinking about them. Let them know you care about them, because you never know when that one text or, hey, dumbass, how are you doing? Or, hey, let's have a beer, or what are you doing today? Might be that thing that keeps them off the edge, because we all have our dark days. And sometimes those dark days win. And with us reaching out to those we care about, veteran and otherwise, we can help bring that number down. Because let's see if we can't turn 22 a day into 20 a day, or 19 or 17, and all the way down to 0, because those are deaths that could be prevented.
Amen.
Just again, reach out to your folks that you care about. Reach out to your friends and family. And I'm gonna splash a little bit more of the Bushmills in my glass, and we're gonna close her out with a toast. And been pretty proud of this toast, and it's something I enjoy doing. It's something I plan on to keep doing. And it's from an old Irish drinking song called "The Parting Glass." But when you listen to the lyrics, it's not just talking about going home at the end of the day of the bar when the bar closes. It's talking about raising the glass to those who can't raise that glass anymore, the ones we've lost along the way. So if you guys would join me in this toast, and it goes out to all our veterans, past, present, and future, all our brothers and sisters in uniform who have served, no matter how they served or when they served. There's a big thank you to each and every one of them. My hat's off to them. I will take my hat off completely. And we will close her out with this toast. But since it fell into my lot that I should rise and you should not, I'll gently rise and softly call. Good night, and joy be to you all. Good night, everyone. Sláinte.
Sláinte.
Thank you for joining us. Catch us again Wednesdays and Saturdays on DAExMachiNation. A special thanks to all our channel members and Patreon supporters. please make sure to like, share, and subscribe.